Hello friends and welcome to day 27 of Inktober, and today's prompt is Daphne. With this one I spent a lot of time planning out what it was going to look like and where all these branches were going to go. So what you're seeing here, which was still a good 2.5-3 hours of work, was not representative of the whole process of this. And this is another one where I used some reference, but changed the reference quite a bit. So I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. And the hair, as if you're familiar with Alphonse Mucha, an artist and illustrator sort of working in the Art Nouveau era, that's quite an iconic thing that he did. This hair with quite sort of circular things going on. So yeah, I was trying to imitate that style in the hair and also to echo those forms in the vines or the roots here as well. So, like I said, this is Daphne, and Daphne's story is linked with Apollo. That's the main her main story, and she was a wood nymph, I think. I'm going off of what I can remember here, so please forgive me if I get any of the details wrong. But yeah, her story is told in Ovid's Metamorphoses, and it tells of her running to escape from Apollo, who is chasing her, and Apollo wants to possess her, probably rape her, and she runs away, and she prays to one of the gods or goddesses, probably Athena or one of the virgin goddesses, and her prayer is answered and she is turned into a laurel tree. So what I wanted to do here was, I didn't want to have Apollo in there. There's a very famous sculpture by Bernini, and that shows Daphne being pursued by Apollo, and she is turning into the tree as she sort of twists away from him. It's a really incredible piece of artwork, and this that was something that I was very conscious of when I was designing this, but I didn't want to have Apollo in there, partly because it's very sort of threatening looking, and I wasn't sure how I could do that without it looking really threatening and without imitating Bernini too much. So yeah, this is what I went for. And color wise, I thought of going for greens, and I played around with a few different colours on my iPad. So I had the digital sketch and coloured it in a few different ways, and actually I thought that keeping the colour scheme really simple was quite effective, and keeping to essentially two main colours apart from black and gold. And yeah, the other option was green, and I thought green was maybe a little too obvious, so I went for this sort of deep pink instead. And I had another issue with contrast here again. So the gold, as you can probably see here, is too similar to the brown tone of her skin. So I had to make some adjustments after this. I couldn't see the gold well enough, basically, and I wasn't sure if that was going to replicate very well. It was going to make taking photos of this really difficult as well. So yeah, this is, you'll see in a minute how I dealt with that. But what I'm doing just now is filling in the same kind of texture on her body as well as on these vines, and I've got two different colours happening there. And I wanted this feeling of her both sort of running away from turning into a tree, but also turning into a tree and I wanted it to feel very dynamic and there to be a lot of movement. That's something I've struggled with in my Inktober pieces, partly because the references I've used have mostly been from Victorian early days of photography, when exposure times were very long. The sitter had to sit there for a couple of minutes, so they couldn't do anything particularly interesting. Usually their faces are very expressionless, just blank, and it doesn't make for the most exciting of images. So yeah, because of that, I feel that a lot of my pieces have been lacking a little bit of character in some ways. And with this one, I wanted it to be really dynamic. So here I am going back in with a darker Copic marker, which is just immediately making it so much better. Unfortunately, I had to go over the gold because it was going to take way too long to go around it all. So that meant I needed to redo the gold again after that. But it made a huge difference, I think, to the contrast and the way the whole piece worked. So I'm really glad I made that decision. Right, I'm going to wrap up this video here, but you'll see in a minute that I go back in and add some extra foliagey bits, which is definitely not a word, but, well, maybe it is, who knows. You know what I mean anyway, and you'll see that shortly. I am completely exhausted, and I'm going to have a well-earned break, I think, at the end of, well, I say that at the end of Inktober, but yeah, it'll probably just be a case of doing all the other things that I haven't got around to doing this month. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, and subscribe if you're not, because tomorrow I will be uploading another video, which is going to be Iphis and Ianthe. Alrighty, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!